The Regenerator, a sci-fi story. Part 1. The first thing Richard notices is that his left hand is growing back again. Not the whole hand, that already regenerated 2 days ago, but a second one, budding like a pale, fleshy orchid from the inside of his wrist. It twitches as if dreaming. Tiny fingers curl and uncurl, blind and searching. "Not again," Richard whispers. The new hand doesn't understand the word again. It only understands becoming. He clamps his right palm over it, feeling the warmth, the pulse, the hunger. The growth shivers beneath his grip, as if offended at being restrained. It wants to finish forming. They always want to finish forming. The alarms are still blaring somewhere deeper in the mine. Red emergency lights pulse through the tunnels, painting the stone walls like they're slick with blood. The air tastes of copper and ozone, the smell of the serum when it leaks. Richard forces himself to breathe. In, out, slow, controlled. He can't afford to panic. Panic makes the growths accelerate. He learned that the hard way. He presses his back against the cold rock and tries to remember the last 10 minutes. The memory is slippery, like something half-dissolved. He remembers running. He remembers the screaming. He remembers a voice. "Richard? You alive?" He jerks upright. The new hand spasms. A figure limps into view, silhouetted against the strobing red lights. It's Finn, her mining suit torn open at the shoulder, exposing skin that ripples like something is crawling underneath. She sees him clutching his wrist. "Oh hell," she mutters. "It's spreading again, isn't it?" Richard nods. Finn swears under her breath. "We need to get to the surface before the serum finishes whatever it's doing to us." Richard almost laughs. Finishes? The serum never finishes. It only escalates. But he pushes off the wall and follows her deeper into the tunnel. The ground trembles beneath their boots. Not from machinery, but from something moving in the dark. Something big. Something that used to be human. 12 hours earlier. Richard had been proud of his job once. Not the mining, nobody was proud of that, but the fact that he was one of the first chosen to receive Regenerator Serum R13, the biotech company's miracle solution to workplace injuries. Instant healing, the company rep had said, smiling like a man who'd never worked a day underground. No more downtime, no more lost limbs, no more funerals. The miners had laughed at that last part. Dark humor was the only kind they had left. The injections hurt like hell, but the results were undeniable. Cuts sealed in seconds. Bruises faded in minutes. Broken bones knitted overnight. For the first time in years, Richard felt invincible. Then the serum started healing things that weren't broken. At first it was subtle. A mole disappearing, a scar smoothing out, a tooth regrowing even though the old one was still there. Then came the dreams. Strange landscapes, alien ruins, voices speaking in languages no human throat could form. And then came the memories. Memories that weren't his. He tried to ignore them. Everyone did. The company insisted it was neural noise, a harmless side effect. But the miners whispered among themselves. They compared dreams. They compared hallucinations. They compared the new organs growing inside them. And then the first miner split open. Not from injury, from overgrowth. Cells dividing too fast. Tissues competing. 2 sets of lungs fighting for space. A second spine trying to form beside the first. The company sealed the mine. They said it was a quarantine. But Richard knew a cover-up when he saw one. Back in the present. The tunnel shakes again, harder this time. Dust rains from the ceiling. Richard and Finn duck instinctively. "That's coming from Section 9, Finn says. Richard swallows. That's where they took John. John had been the first to show the advanced symptoms. The first to lose his face, not physically, but in the sense that his features kept rearranging themselves like his cells couldn't decide what he was supposed to look like. The company dragged him away before the others could see too much. Now something is roaring in Section 9. Something that sounds like a man trying to scream through 3 throats. Finn grabs Richard's arm. "We need to move. Now." They run. The new hand on Richard's wrist twitches violently, as if excited by the sound. The descent. The mind tunnels twist like intestines. Richard knows them by heart, or at least he used to. Lately, his memories feel like they're being overwritten, replaced, rewritten. Sometimes he remembers things that never happened. Sometimes he remembers things that happened to someone else. Sometimes he remembers things that happened to something else. He tries to focus on the present, on the sound of Finn's breathing, on the flicker of the emergency lights, on the distant thud of footsteps that are far too heavy to belong to a human. They reach a fork in the tunnel. Left leads to the lift shaft. Right leads deeper underground. The lift is their only chance. But the left tunnel is blocked by a collapsed support beam, a thick steel girder bent like soft clay. Finn curses. We'll have to go around. That means going through Section 9. I know. Richard hesitates. Finn, what if John isn't John anymore? She meets his eyes. None of us are. Section 9. The air changes as they approach. It grows warmer, wetter, almost humid. The walls glisten with a thin film of something that looks like condensation but smells like blood. Richard's stomach churns. The serum reacts to stress. He can feel it now, a tingling under his skin, like static electricity. The new hand flexes involuntarily. Finn notices. Keep it under control. I'm trying. Try harder. They step into Section 9 and freeze. The tunnel is covered in growths. Not fungal. Not mineral. Something else. Something biological. Veins pulse beneath translucent membranes. Nodules throb like beating hearts. Strands of tissue stretch across the ceiling like cobwebs spun by a creature that understands anatomy. Richard whispers, "This wasn't here yesterday." Finn swallows. It grew fast. A wet sound echoes from deeper inside. A dragging, a scraping, a breathing, then a voice. Hail! It's John's voice, but wrong, layered, echoing, as if spoken by multiple mouths. Finn grabs Richard's sleeve. Don't answer, but it's too late. The growths on the walls shiver, as if listening. Hail! I remember you. A shape emerges from the darkness. Richard's mind rejects it at first, tries to categorize it, tries to force it into a human silhouette. But it isn't human anymore. It has too many limbs, too many joints, too many faces, not fully formed, just impressions beneath the skin, like memories trying to manifest physically. John's original face is still there, somewhere in the center, stretched and distorted. Richard. It gurgles. You're changing too. I can smell it. Finn raises her mining cutter. Stay back. The creature tilts its head or one of its heads. You shouldn't fight it. The serum knows what it's doing. Richard's blood runs cold. What is it doing? John smiles with a mouth that isn't his. It's rebuilding us. The truth. The creature steps closer. The growths on the walls pulse in sync with its movements. Humans were never the target, it says. We're scaffolds, temporary frameworks. The serum remembers what it was designed to rebuild. Finn's voice trembles. Rebuild what? John spreads its arms, all 6 of them. An extinct species. A species that used to live here. Richard shakes his head. That's impossible. There's no record. Of course there isn't, the creature interrupts. They died long before humans evolved. But their creators left behind a failsafe. A way to resurrect them using whatever biological material was available. Richard feels sick. Us. Yes, John whispers. You. The creature lunges. The escape. Finn fires the mining cutter. A beam of white-hot plasma slices across the creature's torso. It shrieks, a sound like metal tearing, and staggers back. Run! Finn shouts. Richard doesn't argue. They sprint through the tunnel, dodging growths that twitch as they pass. The creature roars behind them, its footsteps pounding like a collapsing building. Richard's new hand claws at his wrist, trying to free itself. He bites back a scream. They reach a narrow passage and squeeze through. The creature is too large to follow immediately, but it slams against the rock, cracking it. Finn gasps. It's getting stronger. Richard nods. So are we. The revelation. They stop to catch their breath. Richard leans against the wall, panting. Finn inspects her shoulder. The skin there is shifting, rearranging itself like clay. It's accelerating, she mutters. Richard hesitates. Finn, have you been remembering things? She looks up sharply. What kind of things? Places you've never been. People you've never met. A sky that isn't Earth's. Finn's expression darkens. Yes. Richard exhales shakily. Me too. They share a look. Fear, understanding, resignation. The serum isn't just rebuilding bodies. It's rebuilding minds. Memories that aren't human. Identities that aren't theirs. Finn whispers, "We need to get out before we stop being us." Richard nods. But deep inside, something whispers, "Why fight it? You were never meant to stay human." The climb. They reach the auxiliary lift shaft, a narrow vertical tunnel with an emergency ladder bolted to the wall. Finn starts climbing. Richard follows. Halfway up, the tunnel shakes violently. The creature is coming. Richard climbs faster, but his left arm spasms. The new hand is fully formed now, its tiny fingers gripping the ladder independently of his will. Richard. Finn calls down. Keep moving. I'm trying. The creature roars below, its voice echoing up the shaft. Richard. You can't escape what you are becoming. Richard grits his teeth and climbs. The new hand digs its nails into the metal, helping him. He doesn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. The surface door. They reach the top of the shaft. Finn forces the hatch open. Cold night air rushes in, clean, crisp, human. Richard almost sobs with relief. They scramble out onto the surface platform. The sky above is black and starless, the mining facility lights flickering erratically. Finn slams the hatch shut and locks it. For a moment they just stand there, breathing. Then Richard looks at his wrist. The new hand is still there, still moving, still growing. Finn sees it too. Richard. We need to cut it off. He nods weakly. I know. But before they can act, the hatch behind them bulges outward. Metal groans. Bolts snap. The creature is coming through. Finn grabs Richard's arm. We need to run. But Richard doesn't move. Because suddenly he remembers something. Not a human memory. Not a miner's memory. A memory of a world with 3 moons. A memory of a species that refused to die. A memory of what the serum is trying to rebuild. And for the first time, Richard wonders if escaping is even possible. Or if the transformation has already gone too far. Part 2. Breach. The hatch buckles inward. A fist, or something like a fist, punches through the metal, spraying shards across the platform. Finn drags Richard backward, but he can't take his eyes off the deforming steel. The creature is forcing its way through. Richard, move! Finn shouts. He stumbles after her, the new hand on his wrist gripping his sleeve like a frightened child. The platform trembles as the hatch finally tears open and the creature hauls itself into the night. It looks worse than before, or better, depending on what it's becoming. Its limbs have elongated, joints bending in ways that defy human anatomy. Its skin is translucent now, revealing a network of branching vessels that pulse with bioluminescent light. Its face, or the cluster of faces, shift constantly, as if trying on identities like masks. Richard, it croons. You're almost ready. Finn fires the mining cutter again, but the creature dodges with inhuman speed. The beam slices through a support column instead, sending sparks cascading into the darkness. We can't fight it, Richard shouts. Then we run. They sprint across the platform toward the maintenance corridor that leads to the surface control station. Behind them, the creature gives chase, its footsteps a wet, rhythmic pounding. Richard's lungs burn, his muscles ache. But beneath the pain, something else stirs. A second rhythm, a second pulse, a second set of instincts whispering how to move faster, how to breathe deeper, how to survive. He ignores it, for now. The control station. They slam the door shut behind them and throw the manual lock. The control station is small, a cramped room filled with flickering monitors and outdated equipment. The air smells of dust and burnt circuitry. Finn collapses into a chair, panting. Richard leans against the wall, clutching his wrist. The new hand is fully awake now. His fingers tap against his skin, impatient. Finn notices. We need to remove it before it spreads further. Richard nods, but his voice is distant. It's not just the hand. What do you mean? He lifts his shirt. Finn's eyes widen. A faint glow pulses beneath Richard's skin, tracing the outline of something branching across his ribs. Not veins, not nerves. Something new, something growing. Finn swallows hard. Richard, how long has that been there? I don't know. I didn't notice until now. She stands and grabs a medkit from the wall. Lie down. I'll cut the hand off first. Richard hesitates. What if it grows back? Then we cut it off again. He lies on the table. Finn sterilizes a blade. The new hand senses what's coming and claws at the air, trying to escape. Richard holds still. He grits his teeth. Finn raises the blade. The door explodes inward. The confrontation. The creature fills the doorway, its body contorting to fit through the frame. Finn drops the blade and grabs the mining cutter, but the creature is faster. It swats the weapon aside, sending it skidding across the floor. Richard rolls off the table, but the creature pins him with a limb that feels like a cross between muscle and steel. Richard. It whispers, its many faces shifting. You don't need to run. You don't need to fear this. You're one of us. I'm not, Richard growls. You will be. Finn charges the creature with a metal pipe. It lashes out, sending her crashing into a console. Sparks erupt. The lights flicker. The creature leans closer to Richard. The serum is rewriting you, rebuilding you, restoring what was lost. Richard struggles. Restoring what? The creature smiles. A grotesque, beautiful expression. Us. The memory that isn't a memory. The creature touches Richard's forehead, and Richard remembers. Not as a hallucination, not as a dream, as a memory. A world beneath 3 moons. Towers of living stone. A species that shaped biology the way humans shape metal. A war that burned the sky. A last desperate attempt to survive extinction. A serum designed to rebuild them using whatever host species they found. A failsafe buried deep underground. A mine built on top of their grave. Richard gasps and jerks away. No, that's not me. It is now. The creature says gently. You carry our blueprint, our history, our purpose. Finn staggers to her feet. Get away from him. She swings the pipe again. This time she connects, smashing one of the creature's faces. It shrieks and recoils. Richard seizes the moment. He grabs the mining cutter from the floor and ignites it. The creature lunges. Richard fires. The beam slices through the creature's torso, severing several limbs. It collapses, writhing, its bioluminescent veins flickering like dying stars. Finn grabs Richard's arm. Come on, before it regenerates. But Richard doesn't move, because the creature isn't regenerating. It's dissolving. Its body collapses inward, melting into a pool of shimmering fluid that pulses like a heartbeat. Finn steps back. What the hell? The fluid surges toward Richard. The merge. Richard tries to run, but the fluid is faster. It wraps around his legs, his torso, his arms. It burns and freezes at the same time. Finn grabs him, trying to pull him free, but the fluid lashes out and knocks her across the room. Richard! She screams. He can't answer. The fluid climbs his body, seeping into his pores, merging with his skin. His vision blurs. His heartbeat stutters. His thoughts fracture. Voices whisper inside his skull. You are the vessel. You are the bridge. You are the rebirth. Richard screams. The new hand on his wrist spasms violently, then dissolves into the fluid, merging with it. His bones crack. His muscles twist. His skin glows. Finn crawls toward him, reaching out. Richard, fight it. He tries. He fails. The fluid surges into his chest, his spine, his brain. And then, silence. The aftermath. Richard opens his eyes. The world looks different. Sharper. Brighter. More detailed. He can see the heat signatures of the machinery. He can hear the electrical hum of the lights. He can smell the chemical composition of the air. He stands. Finn backs away, terrified. Richard? He looks at her. He remembers her. He remembers himself. But he also remembers everything else. The extinct species. The serum. The purpose. Richard, Finn whispers. Are you still you? He considers the question. I am, he says slowly. And I am not. Finn grips the pipe tighter. What does that mean? It means the transformation is complete. She raises the pipe. Stay back. Richard tilts his head. I'm not going to hurt you. Prove it. He steps away from her, giving her space. His movements are fluid, almost too fluid. His skin glows faintly beneath the surface. Finn lowers the pipe slightly. What happened to John? He became what the serum intended, Richard says. But he resisted. That caused instability. And you? I didn't resist. Finn's voice cracks. Richard, what are you now? He looks at his hands. Both of them, fully formed, steady, alien. A bridge, he says, between what was and what will be. The choice. The ground trembles. Finn looks around. What now? Richard closes his eyes. He can feel it. Deep underground. The serum. The growths. The others. The entire mine is transforming, not randomly, but according to a blueprint older than humanity. It's waking up, Richard says. What is? The species the serum was designed to rebuild. Finn's face pales. Can we stop it? Richard hesitates. He can feel the network beneath the earth. The interconnected cells. The growing structures. The emerging consciousness. He could guide it. He could control it. He could become it. Or he could destroy it. But not both. Finn steps closer. Richard chews. He looks at her. At the world he once belonged to. At the world he could create. At the species that refuses to stay dead. He whispers, I don't know if I can. You have to. The ground shakes again, harder. Time is running out. Richard closes his eyes. And chooses. Collapse. The tremors intensify, rattling the control station like a dying animal. Panels fall from the ceiling. Consoles spark. The floor vibrates with a deep, rhythmic pulse. The heartbeat of something awakening beneath the earth. Finn grips the table to stay upright. Richard, whatever you're going to do it now. Richard stands perfectly still. His skin glows brighter, the bioluminescent veins pulsing in sync with the tremors. He looks less human by the second, but his eyes, those are still his. Still Richard's. He closes them and reaches inward, not into his mind, into the network, the living web beneath the mine, the serum's architecture, the alien blueprint. It floods him instantly. A tidal wave of information, memories, instincts, commands. A species screaming to be reborn. A civilization clawing its way back from extinction. A biological machine older than humanity, older than Earth's recorded history. It wants to rise. It wants to rebuild. It wants to overwrite. Richard feels it pushing into him, through him, around him. It wants to use him as a conduit, a catalyst, a seed. He grits his teeth. No! The network recoils. Finn watches him, breathless. Richard, what are you doing? He opens his eyes. I'm shutting it down. The resistance. The network fights back. It surges through his bloodstream, trying to seize control of his muscles. His bones crack as competing cell lines battle for dominance. His vision fractures into a kaleidoscope of alien memories. 3 moons. Living towers. A species that refused to die. You are us, the voices whisper. You are our vessel. You cannot destroy what you are. Richard screams and drops to his knees. Finn rushes to him. Richard, stay with me. He grabs her wrist, not to push her away, but to anchor himself. Her touch is grounding. Human. Real. I can do this, he gasps. I just need to hold on. The network surges again, trying to break free of him, trying to erupt through the mine, trying to claim the surface. Richard forces it back. Every nerve in his body burns. Every cell screams. But he pushes harder. The implosion. Deep underground, the growths begin to convulse. The bioluminescent veins flicker. The alien structures shudder and collapse inward. The mine groans. Supports snap. Rock shifts. The entire underground network is destabilizing. Finn hears the rumble and looks toward the window. Richard. The mine is going to collapse. I know. You need to stop. I can't. He looks at her, and for a moment, he is entirely Richard again. No glow, no alien presence, no otherness. Just a man who knows what he has to do. If I let go, it'll spread. If I hold on, it dies with me. Finn's eyes fill with tears. There has to be another way. There isn't. The floor cracks beneath them. Dust fills the air. The lights explode. Richard stands, trembling, every muscle shaking with the effort of containing the network. Finn, he says softly, you have to go. I'm not leaving you. You have to. The ceiling buckles. Richard raises a hand, not to touch her, but to push her back with a telekinetic force he barely understands. She stumbles toward the exit. Richard. He smiles, a small, tired human smile. Thank you for reminding me who I was. The ground splits open. Finn runs. The sacrifice. Richard stands in the center of the collapsing control station, arms outstretched, as the alien network inside him reaches critical mass. He feels everything, every cell, every memory, every echo of the species that created the serum. He feels their desperation, their extinction, their hope, and he feels their rage as he denies them rebirth. The network screams inside him. He screams back. The mine collapses. Rock crashes down. Steel twists. The alien structures implode. And Richard channels all of it. Every ounce of energy, every strand of biological code, every fragment of alien consciousness, inward, into himself, containing it, crushing it, ending it. The explosion is silent. A pulse of bioluminescent light bursts from the mine entrance, then fades into darkness. The tremors stop. The heartbeat stops. The network dies. And with it, Richard. Aftermath. Finn crawls out of the rubble, coughing, bleeding, shaking. She turns back toward the mine. It's gone. Collapsed entirely. A smoking crater where the entrance once stood. Richard, she whispers. There is no answer. She sits in the dirt, staring at the ruins, tears carving clean lines down her dust-covered face. He saved her. He saved everyone. But the cost. She presses a hand to her chest, feeling her own heartbeat. Human. Steady. Hers. The serum inside her is quiet now. Dormant. Dead. Richard killed the network before it could finish rewriting her. Before it could finish rewriting anyone. She wipes her eyes and stands. There will be questions. Investigations. Cover-ups. But she will tell the truth. About the serum. About the company. About the alien species buried beneath the earth. And about Richard, the man who chose to die human. Epilogue. 3 weeks later. Finn stands at the edge of the crater, now fenced off and guarded by government personnel. The air smells of dust and cold metal. She closes her eyes. For a moment, she imagines she can still feel Richard's presence. A faint warmth, a fading echo. But it's only memory, only grief, only human. She turns to leave. Behind her, deep beneath the collapsed rock, something glows faintly. A single pulse. Then silence. Not a rebirth. Not a threat. Just a remnant. A memory of a species that almost returned. And the man who stopped it. This is the end of the sci-fi story, The Regenerator. Leave a like if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Thanks for listening.